So I sent myself a little email today because somebody texted me, or actually I think it was Telegram. I said, "Hey Joe, didn't Cliff say I think back in the March Webbot report of this year something about the big like the Googles and the Facebooks big crashes in stock price being like a temporal marker or something?" And I'm like, I don't know, I don't know. And so I popped open, I just made some notes to do a video later tonight, which it is later tonight, about that potential Webbot hit. Now, I looked through there, and I may have missed it because I didn't read the whole thing over again, but I searched for certain keywords where I felt like I should have found it if it was in there, and it wasn't specific about Facebook, Twitter, or whatever, but it did talk about the market, stock market, kind of falling or whatever. But as I was searching, I'm like finding things like, oh, that's interesting. I forgot about that, as I usually do after months and months and months go by. I can't remember everything in every single Webbot report. And I'm thinking, man, I feel like I need, the reason this video is actually going to be is just an update of, hey, let's look back at some of the stuff it said back in March. And if anyone's paying attention to QAnon, from the pedophile stuff, to, yes, the markets, to cryptos, to politics, to the exposure, the Trump, Mueller, Comey stuff, Rod Rosenstein, all that stuff, like, there's some pretty interesting stuff in here that may not have made as much sense or felt like it was that important at the time of reading the Webbot report. But now that many months have gone by, I just feel there's some interesting stuff in here. And of course, there's some things like, oh, March and April, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, it's not March and April. But it is right now. As we're about to touch August, you're going to see this on August 1st. So, I've got some notes. I've got some awesome notes. The price of silver went to Mars. Okay, page 8 and 9. Let's go there. Got my wife sitting next to me, old Trusty. I got old Trusty next to me, but she doesn't want to be on camera right now. 8 and 9. Okay, I think I should make that a little bit smaller so I can read a little bit more. So again, this is March 2018 Alta / Webbot, whatever, crypto report. And as you know, he's put a lot of Alta stuff in these things, not just cryptos. So again, as I read you this now, just put yourself back in when this came out, March, which means he'd been compiling it for a couple months anyways, right? So February, March, January, February, March, kind of a thing. Actually, it started on, looks like page 7, the end of 7. A number of sets are forecasting that political earthquakes will be visible and rising from around March 9th or 10th as secrets revealed become something, let me move this a little bit, something of a daily occurrence with impacts that are directly focused on the relationship between population and government. The data sets have groupthink and other expressions around the idea of propaganda and mind control by government being hot topics due to the revelations that will be surfacing across March and into April within the USA POP. It is indicated to spread to the Commonwealth and NATO countries by association with USA government officialdom. The new sets and the political earthquake subsets are also forecasting very large impacts from the blowback of the damage to the relationship between population and government upon the leadership of the social media. Facebook recently, Twitter, they're spying on us, they're banning our channels, they're shadow banning us on Twitter, right? That stuff only fairly recently has really been out there. Back in March, there were some issues. But holy crap, has it come up lately. They just had a hearing with, was it Zuckerberg again, or the guy, somebody, Twitter, Zuckerberg. Again, he's unloading his Facebook shares this whole year as if he expected a huge drop in the price all of a sudden. But wait, there's more. So the thing that I I'm not gonna say struggle with, but I guess that might be the best word, is I live, eat, and breathe a lot of this stuff. So even though I have a day job, still, I'm still studying stuff and paying attention to a lot of different things. Those of you who see my videos may not see the things that I've seen, remembered some of these things from the pedogate, pizzagate stuff, like all this stuff, government problems, the housing problems, which is in here too, some housing stuff. I thought, oh crap, I need to take a note of that. Last several days I've been talking about housing stuff that's just popping up all of a sudden. Pretty big news. And sure enough, March Webot report, here it is. I'm thumbing through it like, oh wow, I think I need to talk about that tonight. So all I'm saying is I'm all over the place with different things that I'm following. So as I read this to you, when I read this myself earlier, and again I took my notes, read this page and this page, the second paragraph of this, but like I got it, my little notes. It all makes sense to me easily. Oh yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah, I was talking about that. But as I read this to you, maybe only one or two things or three things stand out. I can't help that. But and I feel like, oh well, maybe I should go back and give a bunch of examples. And like, I don't have time for that. Either you're paying attention and the stuff that I'm about to read you, you're gonna be like, wow, yeah, he did pick up on that quite a bit early. Or you're not. And if you're not, you probably haven't been paying attention to this stuff. That's all I can tell you. So, the new sets and political earthquake subsets are also forecasting very large impacts from the blowback of the damage to the relationship between population and government upon the leadership of social media. What have we been hearing about lately? These sets are suggesting that retribution for past and current sins of the social media is coming. But first there will be the revealing of the actions via an object lesson that is described as breaking in March, unfolding in April, resignations in May, and leading to battles over discovery, suggesting a lawsuit, over summer, Northern Hemisphere. So again, there has been a few resignations. Nothing to write home about. Certainly within social media anyways, like, but again, timing, Webbot's never, I would say it's never perfect. Actually, it is perfect sometimes, dead on. But you have to understand sometimes the timing is just not right. So what I hear from, breaking in March, unfolding in April, and the resignations made, I'm kind of seeing that being pushed a little bit. However, again, if you're paying attention, you can see where this is heading. And this whole thing about discovery suggesting a lawsuit over summer Northern Hemisphere. And they don't want to do the discovery. We do not want people understanding what the hell we've been doing. And again, Project Veritas, they had the guy from YouTube undercover video, someone from Twitter, someone from, I think, Facebook, all of them, admitting basically right there on camera, we are skewing the results, we are hiding conservative and, alt-right people in favor of liberal leftists. They've said it right on camera, basically. And most recently, Twitter, Jack Dorsey, whatever, president, CEO, it's a behavior algorithm. We're going to fine tune our behavior. It has nothing to do with behavior. Like I said the other day. So again, this is now coming out. So if there is discovery and there's lawsuits that start flying, part of that discovery is going to be show us the code, show us the algorithm. We need to see the algorithm. And the algorithm is going to show one thing, and then they're going to probably, you would see, what's the code over here showing? It looks like you guys have a back door, so to speak, not a back door, but another area where you can focus in on certain people and go against the algorithm, so to speak. The algorithm that treats everybody fairly. Whereas, you got a lot of followers, you got a lot of tweets, people love you, you're at the top. Versus someone else who's exposing some criminality, who should be at the top, is being pushed at the bottom. Again, that's not an algorithm. That's called, we need to knock that thing down so that our normal algorithm doesn't put it where it belongs, right? You may be able to find that through the discovery process. Anyways, the political earthquake subset includes assassination attempts and violent attacks on government/officialdom. These sets are suggesting that the feeling of the aftermath of an earthquake, that is, the ground shaking under one's feet, leading to a sense of reality and instability, is forecast as being a common report from mid-April onward as the intensity of the trends changing, or rather the change now emerging into visibility is described as upending or overturning the illusion of political stability. Again, FBI, DOJ, the Democrats, Russia, Trump collusion. This the illusion of political stability. We are anything but stable right now. And again, it's showing. And you see this corrupt and fraudulent criminal FBI leadership. You've seen Peter Strzok with his facial expressions. He can't even sit straight. Stroke man, father of the dossier. Stroke man. I told Steven the other day, dude, would it be against crypto karaoke rules if you did a parody on Stroke? Stroke man. I think he liked it, to tell you the truth. And maybe he'll surprise us. I'm not really sure. He did surprise me the other day with that "Hodl Me Now" song. Hodl me now, oh. And then he adds "Eye in the Sky," Rothschild's "Eye in the Sky" at the end, like a mix. It was beautiful. Like, it shocked me. Like, what the hell? Where'd that come from? It was epic. It was awesome. And I probably should play it for you. It is on the Crypto Karaoke channel right now, though, by the way. So let me continue, because I'm going to get off on some things here, and I'll be talking to you all night long. Let's just get down to business. Again, if some of this makes sense to you, some of it doesn't, whatever. Major earthquakes, yet more shakes in strange, unusual places. We just had another one. Was that Indonesia? Where the hell was that? Just the other day, a bunch of people died, buildings destroyed, a 6.7 or 6 point something, 6.5 earthquake hit. Sure enough, but ground shaking under one's feet, leaving a sense of unreality. More major earthquakes, yet more shakes in strange, unusual places. A significant amount of new language in the earthquakes sets are showing for places like Antarctica, as well as North Pole, the Arctic. In these latter sets, the data has new science expeditions being formed to investigate. I'm going to scroll down because that's, I think, the end of where I was wanting to talk on that particular page. But here's the other thing, though. This is the next paragraph. Lots of damage language associated with the earthquakes language, which again, we just had one. People just died. Like, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, very recently. Lots of damage language associated with the earthquakes language forecast for all of 2018. These sets have major rebuilding efforts that will be following the earthquakes. The damage sets have large implications for the insurance companies involved. Curiously, there are a number of sets that have the earthquakes being a multiple hit for the social media. These sets include not only physical damage and emotional trauma, but also the future of the social media is forecast as being labeled strategic within the USA. These sets have the deep state having a visible, to those who look, freak out over the earthquake event and damage. The data is forecasting that the social media will be labeled as strategic and thus will begin an era of rehoming of the social media. So that's interesting. These sets are part of the flattening of the narrative over summer within the USA, as the powers that be will place sanctions on the actions of the social media. These sets would seem to include some challenges to the social media officialdom to stay home, site servers within country, it says. The division in the public narrative is part of the larger sets for rewriting the public narrative over summer, Northern Hemisphere. So, what else do we have? The other forms of earthquakes are referenced in the sense of social order quakes that are described as being created by the falling of the old boys network that rules much of officialdom. Many of these sets are forecasting that revelations about the real nature of many of the old boys will be causing a great panic among much of the lower and mid-level officialdom. Now hold on. The pedo stuff that's coming out rapid fire right now from the trafficking and everything else. Again, if you're not one of those people who are searching and looking for this right now, you may not see it because, again, mainstream media can talk about it. But if you are following certain people on Twitter and YouTube, like SGT Report, who just got banned and then unbanned, restored, you'll know that these people are in a panic mode right now at the top. And you've got this other guy, Capper, whatever his name is, who's not calling Steven Spielberg a pedophile, and he's just, I'm going to spill the beans on everybody. He's going on a tangent. Whoa, this just happened. Not in March and April. This happened July, just, literally a couple weeks ago, if that. So, got a little problem here. The boys at the top are starting to get a little panicked, aren't they? And here it is telling us in March that this is coming. Okay, so the data sets have gained new support for language coming out in 2018 that goes to the dissolution of the internal networks among officialdom as it becomes a self-protection effort on the part of the higher levels of management. Now, I'm going to give you just my opinion piece on this, okay? The data sets have gained new support for language coming out in 2018 that goes to the dissolution of the internal networks of officialdom. You guys remember a picture not that long ago from QAnon? And they showed an airport and a plane, and the person was standing in a building with the plane right outside the front there in little blinds. The blinds were opened, and they took a picture of a nice pallet of a crap ton of phones, cell phones. I'm not sure when the picture was actually taken, but Q posted it not too awfully long ago. And it said, basically, the elite, the Clintons, the Obamas, all these people thought they could go get these special phones that they could communicate with. And they had them shipped out to everybody. And yet Q is over here taking a picture saying, these people are stupid, we have it all. Every conversation, we have it all. So, would that be considered the dissolution of their internal networks where they're realizing, guys, we can't do anything safe. We can't even communicate anymore unless we're like face to face, and even then we better do it somewhere. We're probably going to be spied on somehow in the house or outside. Oh my God, right? Their network, the internal networks they would use, the Hillary email server, gone. They can't communicate anymore. It's falling apart. That's my take of what I just read. Again, especially in recent times. Yet more quakes within the social order are indicated as affecting the whole of social media. The data has the major players in the social media spaces as being subjected to external legal audits on behavior, as well as the object of a number of new former employee lawsuits from different jurisdictions. What makes these more than mere disgruntled employee actions is indicated to arise during the fight to avoid discovery. These sets are indicating that the social media organization's management layers will be in the position of having to testify that they were instructed by, he's got 3 question marks, that they were instructed by something to support social agendas that are anti-business, not in their own commercial interests, and that had specific social engineering as their goals. That one for me right now is off the charts insane. Because again, I'm over here doing videos recently, and I'm saying to you, which you can go watch them, I just did them. Hey guys, only put a liberal in charge and they'll run your business into the ground. Remember that saying? And as part of that, I said, you'd have to be a moron to cut people out for telling the truth and exposing things who have a lot of followers and are making you, the company, a lot of money and making themselves money. It's a team effort, right? Like on YouTube, you get 55% of the share of the ad revenue. YouTube keeps 45%. So it's like, why would you ban SGT Report? He's got 360-something thousand followers. You know the kind of revenue potential that is? You know what I mean? Like, you got to be an idiot. Unless it's hard for a man to tell the truth, unless his job depends upon him telling the truth. Or when his job depends upon him not telling the truth, excuse me. As I always like to say. So, what I just read there is exactly what I've been saying. You're going to find, according to the Webbot, there were social agendas. Liberal lefts, give them top-notch discovery on our platforms, whether it's YouTube, Twitter, make them show up at the top. Let everyone retweet their stuff. Let it get out super, super far. Let their channel grow massively. Guys like me and a bunch of others, SGT was a perfect example. Bury him. He should be showing up number one. Nope. Someone that has no followers, no subscribers. There's a guy that has 10 subscribers. There's one that has 20. Outdid, Alex Jones that has 2 million subscribers, And again, we got the undercover video from Veritas that showed, the YouTube guy especially, oh yeah, if anyone's looking for Alex Jones anyways, we'll bury his stuff, but it doesn't matter because they already know who they're looking for anyways. They'll find him anyways. He said it on camera. So again, if you're an employee and you're being told we need you to do this, well, this isn't exactly right. But like the Nazis, I'm just following orders, just following orders. But the employees, it looks like, according to the Webbot report, might be, in other words, don't be shocked if you hear some lawsuits coming soon from the sounds of it. Let's see, I've got a couple. Add Digibyte on Coinbase. Oh, there's a change.org, signed Digibyte petition. Yeah, I may have to do a little video on that. So anyways, this is, you could see this coming from a mile away. But back earlier this year, it wasn't like in front of us like it is now with what these social media giants are actually really doing. Sure, a little conspiracy thought, oh, they're probably doing this. And sure enough, once again, for the millionth time, the conspiracy theorists were right. Let's continue on. So that was 8 and 9. All right. And then, what was my next thing? Page 17 about the censorship. So let's go down to 17. And this is crypto space and advertising. But the whole of the advertising sector within crypto space is filling with new sets for a surge, boost, or jump of the attention and focus on the sector as various ill winds and blue meanies are forecast to come to the surface within the larger global social media. Blue meanies, is that like the blue wave, the Dems? What is that? As the social media woes sets begin to accrue to model space while it is being moved through March, the supporting sets are filling with longer term values that are forecasting significant, long-lasting and enduring and profound changes within the advertising sector as the blockchains rush to fix the problems within the global human attention markets. These sets have many of the advertising sector focused blockchains making big headlines in the subsequent months in an oscillating manner with the onslaught of problems, fights, and contentions that are forecast as manifesting within the social media ghettos. Sets for extreme disruptions within the staffing / personnel in both management and worker. I'm just seeing some emails coming in. That guy Rob from OSS.cc or whatever. He feels like the dip that we see in August, it's the end of the bear market. The bull market will then take effect, but I don't have time for that right now. We're in the middle of this. So sets for extreme disruptions within the staffing personnel at both management and worker levels within the social media platforms are forecast to be perceived as boons / wonderful happenstance for the alternative advertising media companies across all of 2018 and well into 2019. Yet more large-scale growth in advertising subsector as the data has the breaking down of the officialdom narrative becomes more than just a game or mystery. The growth patterns have the cryptocurrencies within the advertising space to be beneficiaries of the changing media landscape. The growth patterns for advertising within, again, Facebook, big dump in their stock. Twitter, the numbers are waning. Same with Facebook. They're not growing anymore. It's right here. It's telling us in March what was happening or what was going to happen. The growth patterns for advertising within the crypto space changes significantly as model spaces move through the last week in March. From that point forward for 2018, model space new data sets are dominated in one fashion or another by the censorship and activism words. Again, we're talking mostly about being censored one way or the other, whether being completely shut down like SGT report, or simply being pushed off to where no one finds you anymore. Someone searches for your name in Twitter, you don't even show up, even though you exist. And remember, like they said, hey, how come all these Republicans, you can't search for them and find them, but every single liberal leftist you guys have can be searched for no problem. Well, everyone can be found in the main search, but the quick search, yeah, and that's based off of behavioral. Remember that nonsense? I did a video on it a few days ago. So, again, I'm just seeing things here that just stand out big time. These sets have the blowback from censorship described as epic and nation-changing and upending the social media hierarchy. Further sets have descriptors for riots and fights and contention within the offices of social media corporations, spreading out into the advertiser communities, as well as erupting within the technical support levels of the media firms. The advertiser communities are forecast as reacting badly to voiced or leaked suspicions that they were being ripped off by the media algorithms at the same time that their customers are getting pissed off by the supposed actions of the advertisers. The technical staff of the social media corporations are forecast to become embroiled within the political battles as the management of the corporations will try to insist on clearly illegal actions or tactics. The data has some of the techie level employees freaking out and talking/leaking even while in fear of losing their lives. When I saw that at first, I was like, I was sure you see the word fear of losing their jobs. No, it's a quoted word in the webbot, which means that is a webbot keyword that came back. In fear of losing their lives, they will still talk. This situation will turn out to be very advantageous for the advertising cryptocurrencies over late summer, Northern Hemisphere. We're not in the late summer yet. However, what if the timing's off again? So that was interesting. Again, that was page 17. It was page 17. 17. Page 27. Last two paragraphs of page 28. And then one more. Okay, 27. Scroll down, 27. Make sure I got that right. Page 27. Last two paragraphs, page 28. See where I was supposed to start on this. I'm not sure. Precious metals. What is in here? I think it was the last part. Yet more data in support of precious metals appears as model space has moved from late March through April, and these new sets are descriptors for the upending and overturning of the control structure within metal space as regards to precious metals. These sets have several temporal markers that first appear in mid-March and then grow across April and into May. These breaking of the market control sets continue to gain strength with the new descriptors over June into the third quarter of the year. Many sets then appear that are in support of or being supported by lawsuits. These lawsuit sets have value as temporal markers for what the data describes as the public failures of several major dealers in bullion, as well as the banks that back the play or support the process. These banksters and trouble sets with the precious metals area of metal space are also bringing along language for tainted by pedophilia and hanged pedophiles, more than one apparently, and suicided bank workers. It is this last set that also brings along sets for freaked out employees and large screaming whistleblowers within bullion banking, as other sets are describing a conspiracy come unwound and wound too tight, coils of control break under pressure. Many of these supporting sets brings up language that will reach the public and be described as foul and skin crawling and stench inducing vomiting. Some of these sets are forecasting an event such as a metals conference in which tainted bankers will be shunned, publicly castigated, publicly challenged, along with face slapping in public shaming. Many of these sets have support for mega global viral videos that will originate with this conference. So I have not been too deep into looking at Precious Metals conferences or any ones that are coming up that are of note. If you know of any, oh yeah, Joe, there's one later this year that's supposed to be a big one. Just say it in the comments. Let's let our peoples know. And then I think dirt space. This is where I think the bottom part of page 27 I wanted to really get into. Dirt space. A whole lot of language piling into model space around the broad subject of both land and housing. Unusual sets in both size and emotional intensity are the dominating rule as model space is moved through the second quarter of this year. The data has a few spikes of flow that are forecasting some major international laws as relates to real estate ownership being under attack in complex court proceedings that are forecast to run for years, as well as instances of persons versus corporations as regards to ownership and rights on property. Yet more language at lower supporting levels joins in mid-July to form a larger mass that is forecast to be moving real estate markets through to the end of the year. Again, only very recently have these real estate and housing market stories been coming out that if you look at my last several videos, I should say, going back maybe a couple weeks even, man, there's been kind of a bit of a rapid fire. Oh, housing, Australia, this again, housing, that just popped up all of a sudden. So for this instance where it says July, it looks like maybe it's spot on that time frame where it talks about the housing issues, but because now the stories are popping up all over the place. A number of the real estate sections in model space, of which there are many, both geographically separated as well as linguistically isolated, are indicating that social engineering will have a prominence not normally visible within the sector. These latter sets are focusing on hot markets where high-paying jobs and the demand/draw for the population, and in which conditions dictated by corporations are showing as laying a rotten egg on the local markets. All I can think about is Willy Wonka. She goes and stands in that little thing, the little good egg, bad egg thing, and the bad egg thing goes, and she goes down. That's what I'm seeing here. Thanks. Laying a rotten egg on the local markets. These sets have the local power brokers, aka politicians, who will be castigating/chastising and wailing upon or about the corporations to the point that retribution will become visible. In at least some of these instances, the result is forecast as being let them leave, or so much for those bozos from the local population, much to the surprise of the corporation masters. In several instances, there are major corporations that will be involved in the melee with local population / politicians, and that the corporation directors will be faced with having their bluff called, and according to the data sets, losing the stare down. Other sets have confrontations between minor royalty and their slave media against real estate ownership claims by royals that are described as stinking bad and a public relations nightmare. These sets have greater depth and greater growth over March through May than most of the other real estate sections in model space, with the hints from the accretion patterns of a most interesting period of hot days coming in mid-year, as the minor royals are described as starting something they can't finish. As hot days, it just means simply hot, like it's hot outside, like noticeably hot or something. Coming in mid-year, as the minor royals are described as starting something they can't finish. As a last note on the episode being described, the minor part of the sets is interesting as it has supporting sets going to the idea that the major royals getting really pissed off at being put into the position of having to defend relatives who are perceived as being entitled buttheads. The data sets have the major royals being moved to alter dynamics in the background in a wasted effort to extricate themselves from the public fighting. Oh shoot, I just skipped my whole page. Hang on. 27. 28. Yet more Australian housing scandals Again, if I know I have some Australian followers, and they'll tell you 100%, oh, housing issues, it's all, it's making news now over there. Yet more Australian housing scandals sets are accruing in this processing. As model spaces move through the last 2 weeks of March and most of April, the data picks up new sets for smelling it in the wind or the impression general population of a brewing storm. These sets are focusing over March and April on the smell of the pending public problems, with the idea being that enough leakage and hushed, hidden, furtive conversations will be percolating, note this word, through the connected to politicians and their supporters socially cohorts within Canberra to create a palpable sense or feeling of foreboding that the data describes as being hottest from Kangaroo Valley through to downtown Melbourne. The data sets indicate that Perth will be part of the percolation by mid-winter, southern hemisphere, though by then the data would have it be pretty much open secret. These sets can be used as temporal markers for both the rising dust of the housing problems and scandals and the pending manifestation of the crisis of federation. In the larger dirt space set, the language for out of their minds or irrational will be surfacing over mid-April and continuing through May as many examples of irrational decisions are revealed in the various media. Some of these are showing as within the financing subsets and others within selling behavior. Many of the selling subsets are indicating that episodes of falling prices within various markets will be causing emotional reactions all out of proportion to the actual situation. These instances of irrational selling behavior are described as scandalous and bizarre and crazy in many of the supporting sets. The repetition of the crazy language and the number of supporting sets and the general geographic references are pointing toward many examples appearing globally over the 6 weeks involved. Not the next, but over the 6 weeks involved. Noting the forecast for fires. I'm sure you heard about those recently. Noting the forecast for fires and wildfires and other forms of burning houses within the subsets for real estate and the forecast for an extreme drought summer in the northern hemisphere, the data sets have real estate markets across the USA and parts of the EU as being after fire sales and collapsing as destruction by flames brings new language into distressed property sales. These sets have a large number of mid-sized metropolitan areas being involved with the fires and the subsequent population shifts. A few of these sets have evacuation language that is similar to what appears in the times of major hurricanes. Be advised, extra hot times coming in real estate. Dirt space sets are still forecasting record prices, but still the sets are forecasting narrowing inventory in real estate, which again, I just did a video on that. Still have high prices and narrowing inventory. We were just talking about that. As well as decreasing lending and fewer sales. Some of the supporting sets bring in the hyperinflation sets as being the pump for the continuing price rises. Basically, it would appear that real estate sales activity will be dwindling against rising prices, providing the illusion of a healthy market. Minor notes in terms of size of new growth include references to divorce sales of real estate in some very prominent places and families. So, due to the crumbling of religion, this is showing as something of a recurring and international meme over 2018 and into 2019. The detail sets, albeit sketchy, have connections to currently manifesting sets with some strength and point to real estate markets being affected and disrupted as they are fragile by the split up of the religion corporation. The data has the affected markets to, at first, welcome the new inventory, then express concern about the impacts of the manifesting lawsuits and levels of claims against property associated with the money crimes of the church. So that was that the last thing I said to do? Debt space, paragraph, page 29, and a few more. Okay, so there's a little bit more. Debt space. One thing that I talk a lot about. A base note with indebtedness is the final thing. Within debt space is indicated to change into contraction from mid-March onward. These sets in supporting position for a curtailing or contraction and similar language continue to grow as model spaces move forward through to late September. There are many sets for pulling in for consolidation and congealing that are in supporting position to banks and central banks. Many of these subsets include rising emotional tones, albeit as release language negative. These sets continue their growth through March and into April as the number of instances of visibility for banks and central banks language is forecast to have several periods of instability that are themselves indicated to be temporal markers for two temporal echoes of the memes involved. The first of the echoes will be immediate and is forecast to build rapidly over the last week of March. The second and larger temporal echo shows as building in early September. The data sets have the regional banks being the point at which restrictions develop. The idea coming from supporting sets within the data is that the central bank response will be to isolate and attempt to contain the developing situation. Now, I'm not seeing anything here that says specific to USA or anything else, by the way, any specific country here. There are some sets that suggest calls for new laws that will regulate debt rights away from banks will occur. If so, these are more likely in late May than earlier. Again, I haven't seen anything in May. We're in June now, July now, about to be August. Tonight's the last day of July. If so, these are more likely in late May than earlier, but without regard to timing of their appearance, the cries for new laws as regards to failing central banks will be able to be used as a good temporal marker for a long period of rising of cryptocurrency prices expressed in fiat currencies. Again, we're not there yet, but it's coming. The base for growth in the debt space area over March through May has much of the action being background and prelude to the contraction language that is forecast as the dominating discussions over mid-year. These sets are further gaining supporting subsets for downward spikes in hammered markets, which, not talking cryptos, just markets. These sets are further gaining supporting subsets for downward spikes in hammered markets, both with very high emotional values. Some of these sets have hints going back to the 1987 market crash as being a good template for the emotional tone that will be included in retirement. That will be induced in retirement savings customers. These sets would seem to be forecasting that the downward spiking behavior will induce public vomiting that will be caught on video. The idea from the data sets is that the spikes downward will be unusual in recent experience, as they will not instantly have a rebound. Many of these sets have language for the buy the dip movement as being dead. It will not be so, but may be comatose for a number of months. However, the data sets do have rebounds coming in the late summer, Northern Hemisphere. Please note these rebounds within all the aspects of debt space are only described as temporary and are supported by sets indicating that the downtrends will be returning with a vengeance in 2019 and persisting for some number of years thereafter. Again, if that's what's going to happen to the stock markets, people are going to want to put their money somewhere safe, right? Is that what's going to really propel crypto? Again, 2019, the same year Chair Michelle keeps talking about 2019. If you think we end 2018 good, which we haven't seen yet, but if you think that ends good, wait till you see 2019, is what she said. And then the final paragraph, new supporting sets for debt space reaching a point of debilitation and deflation are growing as model spaces move through the second quarter, with specific bumps in the growth patterns at several points in March, April, May, such that by solstice in June, the debt space landscape is described as tearing, shredding, flapping aimlessly. Further sets have the mainstays and celebrity personalities within debt space being in wailing and gnashing of teeth against cruel fates in July. The data is describing some ugly pictures of crying banksters and weeping politicians being the public face of the failing debt model of life by the end of the third quarter of 2018. Again, timing, I don't know. But, I mean, wasn't it just a day or two ago, JP Morgan talking, well, QE, maybe QE was a bad thing after all. Maybe the whole thing with the central banks isn't going to work after all. We're kind of seeing some signs that saying, the longer term thing here actually does suck. It was short term gain, more longer term pain. Maybe that was the bad thing to do after all. right? That just came out. That just came out. And since when does anyone from JP Morgan ever talk like that about the club, the central banks? So, anyways, this is just kind of an update. I know it was a long update, but it's very interesting to see this stuff happen. And this was posted in March. And now that we've had months that went by, and some interesting, secrets revealed, if you will, have come out all over the place, rapid fire. I mean, these people must be in an absolute sheer panic right now. But Webbot kind of told us what to look for, so I just wanted to share that with you. Take care.